In the news tonight, the Iraqi Prime Minister vows to preserve the human heritage as he officially reopens the National Museum in Baghdad and promises to pursue those who are trying to destroy the country's artifacts. An Egyptian court sentences the Muslim Brotherhood's top leader to life in prison, and 14 others received the death penalty for inciting violence in 2013. And thousands of Russians lay flowers and light candles for opposition politician Boris Nemtsov, who was shot dead yesterday, while Russia's investigative committee says it is following several lines of inquiry into the killing. Good evening and welcome to a new edition of the news. Here are the details. His Majesty the King discussed with Russian President Vladimir Putin ongoing events in the Middle East and ways to enhance security and stability in the region. The two leaders spoke over the telephone when they also discussed means to further boost Jordanian-Russian ties in various fields as well as issues of mutual interest. A rise in fuel prices will be effective as of tomorrow, according to a government decision. Under the new rates, the price of 1 litre of unleaded 90-octane gasoline stands at 58.5 piastres, up from 52.5 under last month's rates. The price of 1 litre of 95-octane will be 74 piastres, up from 66. Prices of diesel and kerosene also rose to 45.5 piastres per litre from 40.5 piastres. Cooking gas cylinder remained unchanged at 8 dinars. Oil prices are subject to a monthly review since 2012, when the government lifted subsidies on fuel derivatives and are set in light of global market rates. UN mediator Staffan de Mistura started a fresh 2-day visit to Damascus for talks with Syrian officials on his proposal for the government to suspend its bombardment of Aleppo for 6 weeks. De Mistura has been working since October on his plan to negotiate local freezes that would start in Aleppo, the forefront of clashes between government forces and insurgents. His visit comes at a sensitive time after the Syrian government yesterday expelled 3 UN aid workers, a move seen as harming attempts to deliver relief around the war-torn country. 2 of the expelled staffers were from the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs and the 3rd from UNICEF. Over to Iraq, where at least 27 people were killed by car bombs targeting a crowded market and Shia militia checkpoints north of Baghdad. The first bomb exploded near the market in the town of Baladruz in the eastern Diyala province, killing 11 people and wounding 50. Later, a suicide bomber attacked a checkpoint manned by Shia militiamen near the city of Samarra, killing 8 fighters and wounding 15. The attacks came as Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi vowed to punish Daesh terrorists who smashed rare and ancient artifacts in a museum in the northern city of Mosul. In Baghdad, al-Abadi again stressed that his government will preserve the human heritage and will go after those who are trying to destroy it. The Iraqi Prime Minister was speaking at the official reopening of the National Museum 12 years after it was closed in the aftermath of the US-led invasion. The reopening was brought forward as a response to the destruction of priceless artifacts by Daesh terrorists in Mosul. The Baghdad Museum was considered to host one of the world's greatest archaeological collections. It is estimated that some 15,000 pieces were looted from the museum, of which more than 4,000 have been recovered. The collection covers 7,000 years of history. The museum is due to reopen to the public tomorrow.
We have information that Daesh destroyed some artifacts and kept others for smuggling, and the smuggling operation is underway, and unfortunately there is assistance from some traitor. All the artifacts of Mosul are marked and recorded. We will track down all the pieces smuggled by Daesh and the terrorist groups. We will chase them with the world on our side. This is a serious call to the Security Council and the United Nations and all peace-loving states and all the advocates of a human civilization and the Islamic civilization to chase them all.
An Egyptian court sentenced the Muslim Brotherhood's top leader Mohammed Badia to life in prison, while other members received the death penalty. Badia was among 14 group members who were sentenced to life, alongside deputy leader Khairat al-Shatir and leading figure Mohammed al-Biltaji. 4 lower-level members of the Brotherhood were sentenced to death for inciting violence that led to the killing of protesters outside the Brotherhood's office in 2013. The death sentences are subject to appeal, and many of the defendants are already serving lengthy sentences on other charges. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi describes the Brotherhood as a major security threat. However, the movement says it is committed to peaceful activism. Meanwhile, Hamas described another court decision to list Hamas as a terrorist organization as shocking and dangerous. The Egyptian decision, confirmed by judicial sources, is part of a sustained crackdown on Islamists. While a court ruled in January that Hamas's armed wing is considered a terrorist organization, today's broader ruling against the entire group has potentially greater consequences on relations between Cairo and Hamas. Cairo has for many years played a central role in engineering ceasefires between Israel and Hamas, including a truce reached between the sides in August that ended a 50-day Gaza war. Speaking in Gaza, Hamas spokesman Fawzi Barhoum said the decision will not harm Hamas and its victories or the stand of its leaders, but it will hurt the reputation of Egypt.
It is a shocking and dangerous decision that targets the Palestinian people and the Palestinian resistance that is defending the dignity of Palestine and the Arab nation. It also goes against the rules as it relates to the Israeli enemy as a friend and to Hamas, the Palestinian people and the Palestinian resistance as enemy. This decision will never harm Hamas and its victories or the stand of its leaders, but it will directly contaminate the reputation of Egypt.
Thousands of stunned Russians laid flowers and lit candles on the bridge where opposition politician Boris Nemtsov was shot dead yesterday near the Kremlin. Russia's investigative committee, which answers to Vladimir Putin, said it was following several lines of inquiry. Flowers were piled at least a meter high, and a piece of white paper on the top read, "We are all Nemtsov." Here's more.
A memorial grows in Moscow, where opposition politician Boris Nemtsov was killed Friday night. His supporters paying tribute to the man who spoke out against President Vladimir Putin. The Kremlin deflected accusations that it was to blame, with Putin taking the investigation under presidential control. Russian Investigative Committee spokesman Vladimir Markin says they are pursuing several lines of inquiry.
First of all, of course, it is the possibility that the murder could have been a provocation to destabilize the political situation in Russia. And Nemtsov could become a sacrificial victim for those who would not stop before using any means to reach their political goals.
Nemtsov was shot 4 times in the back as he walked across the bridge over the Moskva River. His gangland-style killing, a reminder to many of the chaos following the collapse of the communist Soviet Union in the 1990s. Opposition politician Dmitry Gudkov blames authorities.
It is not just a murder, it is a terrorist attack. It is the murder of a politician and it should be investigated as a terrorist attack. Of course they want to frighten us this way. Of course the authorities bear a political responsibility for what has happened, because all this hatred that was fanned out by their propaganda led to this result.
With his murder, Nemtsov becomes the most prominent opposition figure killed in Putin's 15-year rule.
Thousands of people marched in Cameroon's capital to protest against Nigeria's Boko Haram insurgency and support the nation's army, now fighting alongside regional neighbors to defeat the radical group. Boko Haram's 6-year insurgency in Nigeria has spread to neighboring countries, where the group has launched attacks over the past year, burning villages and kidnapping residents. Organizers of the march said after Nigeria, Boko Haram are now in Cameroon, and if the people don't mobilize, the country risks catching fire. They hope to inform the public, especially in the southern regions, about the threat posed by Boko Haram. In the extreme north of the country, 70 schools are closed and some 55,000 students don't attend school. 150,000 of the population are displaced, and the country hosts 200,000 Nigerian refugees who fled Boko Haram violence. Actor Leonard Nimoy, whose portrayal of Mr. Spock on the Star Trek science fiction film and TV series won him fans all over the universe, has died at the age of 83. The cause of his death was a chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Nimoy had a long career in TV, film and theatre, including directing movies, writing books, composing poetry, publishing photographs and recording music. But he will be forever linked to the half-Vulcan, half-human Spock in the original 1960s Star Trek TV series and subsequent movies. A Pablo Picasso painting stolen in 2001 has now resurfaced under curious circumstances. The U.S. Department of Justice intercepted the painting when it was shipped via Federal Express from Belgium to the United States as a $37 US worth art craft. A civil complaint was filed in a federal court in New York to forfeit the century-old Cubist painting called The Hairdresser. The U.S. Department of Justice, which filed the complaint, says the painting is owned by the French government and was reported stolen from a museum storeroom in Paris. The current market value of the painting is estimated to be in the millions of dollars. To Italy and the Milan Fashion Week, Italian fashion designer Roberto Cavalli drew inspiration from ancient Chinese shapes and colors for his autumn-winter 2015-2016 collection. Chinese elements such as large golden pagoda buttons and Ming vase-inspired floral motifs in golden metal were used as details on the dresses and shoes. His trademark animal prints were also present in the look that the designer defined as fun. Skirts were either super short or very long and worn with long coats. Cavalli's new heroine bag was worn either as a maxi clutch or as a shoulder bag. In another show, Donatella Versace's vision for autumn-winter was bright and logoed. Models walked the red plexiglass catwalk in bright red, green and yellow thigh-high boots. The primary colors were also used in monocolor outfits comprising of capes, fur coats and tight trousers. Simple black outfits were made to stand out with cutout patterns across the chest or combined with large buckled belts and logo-printed tights. We begin with the FIS Alpine Snowboard World Cup in Asahikawa, Japan. Zan Koser of Slovenia took the men's parallel giant slalom title after winning the fourth and final event. He defeated German Patrick Bussler by 0.42 seconds to claim his only victory of the season. Stanislav Detkov of Russia took third place. In the women's event, Julia Dojmovec of Austria defeated Julie Zog of Switzerland by 0.43 seconds. Esther Ledeka of the Czech Republic finished third. And to the United States and the World Cup slopestyle, where Josh Christensen of the U.S. took first place. Christensen, the event's gold medalist in the 2014 Olympic Games in Sochi, took the win with his final run of 3, scoring 92 points. Second was McRae Williams, followed by Gus Kenworthy, both from the U.S. And Emma Dahlström of Sweden claimed victory in the women's event, scoring 79.60 points. Second was Devin Logan of the US, and third came Tiril Seistad Christiansen of Norway. Up in here. And finally, cold tonight in the hilly areas and relatively cold in other regions with northwesterly winds. Tomorrow, fair conditions are expected in most parts of the country, but with cloudy skies and northwesterly to moderate winds. The Gulf of Aqaba should expect a cool night and warm day tomorrow with northerly moderate winds and slightly high seas. Here now is a look at temperatures forecast for tonight and tomorrow. And to close, here's a reminder of the day's top stories. The Iraqi Prime Minister vows to preserve the human heritage as he officially reopens the National Museum in Baghdad and promises to pursue those who are trying to destroy the country's artifacts. An Egyptian court sentences the Muslim Brotherhood's top leader to life in prison, and 14 others received the death penalty for inciting violence in 2013. And thousands of Russians lay flowers and light candles for opposition politician Boris Nemtsov, who was shot dead yesterday, while Russia's investigative committee says it is following several lines of inquiry into the killing. And with this, we come to the end of this edition of the news. I'm Ali Tuqan. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.